Hello, welcome to He's Hop but Something Is Off with me, just Joey T. It feels like it's been a while since I recorded, but I recorded last week and an episode went up last week, so I don't know why it felt like that. Maybe because I had just gone back from Taiwan when I recorded last week's episode. It was the day after I got back, I think that I recorded it. And this has been a week. So right now, as I'm recording this, it is Wednesday night, November the 6th. For those of you that live in the US, it's the day after Election Day. Even for people who don't live in the US, I have friends that I talk to in Canada and in Australia, and then they're like, yeah, like we can't stop hearing about it either. So it's like international news when there's a US presidential election. Not to get political because I usually don't. And if you wanted me to talk about politics or if you wanted to hear about politics, you would probably have subscribed to a number of political podcasts already. I don't know of any because I keep up on news in general. There are like some news sites where I'll scan the headlines. I may read a couple articles. And I'm not deep diving into anything political, so don't tune away. But because this is such like a big thing that just happened, I will say I do have some thoughts. First of all, I am kind of glad that it's over in the sense that campaign season, which lasts for years, it felt like we've been campaigning for years. You know, Donald Trump has not stopped campaigning for the last 4 years, ever since he left the White House last time. But, during campaign season, especially, like the last several months or so, or this year, most of this year, it's so much because there's so much money being spent on ads, placements, like on billboards and like on the airwaves, like and appearances on podcasts, on TV. There's so much that I'm happy that it's over in a way because it's not campaign season anymore, and it's not going to be campaign season for at least like a good 3 years. And in 3 years from now, there's going to be, as we get to the next election cycle, it's gonna ramp up again. But I'm kind of happy that at least for the next 3 years, there's not gonna be active campaign advertising and candidates showing up on like every single show that you may or may not watch, every podcast you may or may not listen to, even YouTubers and influencers and like at events and all that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of happy for that. That's kind of my first thing. The second thing is I was watching on election night last night, some of like the news coverage, because every major news outlet in the US obviously were very hyper focused on every tiny little possible detail that people cared about as the votes were rolling in and the polls and closed, even details that maybe some people didn't understand and didn't care about. But I explained to a friend in Australia that in a way it was the best and the worst reality show because coming from Canada, we don't have this level of spectacle with elections. Yes, they do campaign, but they don't campaign like a year in advance. The system is a little bit different. But there's so much like money and hype, and it infiltrates in people's everyday lives in such an explicit way, how it's done in the US, that it's like it's a little surreal, and just the spectacle of it I find in some ways is entertaining. For me, as someone who kind of grew up in Canada and I've only more recently been in the US, even though I am also a American citizen now and I did vote. But, it's if you hear anyone talk about it, or anyone I know talk about it, or even like the candidates themselves say how it's like, and I feel like they feed this. I hear this every 4 years that it's always the most like consequential or inconsequential, whatever the word is always like the most important election of our lifetimes. Like every 4 years is the most important one. So is it just like crying wolf every 4 years, or is that really true? I think part of me is just like that's also part of the reason why I'm kind of glad the campaigning is not campaign season anymore now that election night is over, at least, because I don't want to hear about it. A lot of people don't want to hear about politics. And this is as much as I'll talk about it, but this is just to give like my viewpoint as someone who grew up in Canada and now live in the US and is also an American citizen, that like the spectacle of it is quite astonishing. It is like a lot. I don't even have cable TV. I don't subscribe to like any TV services. I don't watch like the networks or like the cable outlets or anything like that. I only watch stuff that's like on YouTube. I'm not even on Instagram like that much. You know, I'm not on Instagram multiple times a day scrolling through the feed and stories and stuff. But even then, it's like it was like the day before election day. I was at the grocery store and there were just like randomly people just like standing in the middle of the supermarket talking about the candidates. I'm like, I don't want to hear this. Turn up the volume on my earbuds, turn the noise cancellation on. But yeah, even for someone like me who just goes to the gym and doesn't really go anywhere else, even I can't escape hearing about it, you know? So it's a lot. Anyways, am I happy that the person who won? Not necessarily, but I do know of a lot of people that were and still are very unhappy with how the election unfolded. I'm not here to like pick a side because like it's so contentious. Honestly, people on both sides, and being gay and the way most of my friends are as well, we lean left, and some of my friends are like very progressive. So obviously on my feed on social media, there's a lot of doom and gloom. Well, all I would say is, you know, there are some people that are happy with the result. There's some people that are not happy with the result. It's a little bit pie in the sky, kind of a pipe dream in some sad ways, that I just want people to get along a little bit. You know, not everyone is gonna be everyone's best friends, and I'm not advocating for everyone to be everyone else's best friends. But, you know, I don't view it as like the end of the world. But like I have to whisper that because there's so much doom and gloom on all my social media, you know, from people that obviously wanted Kamala to win. But in my own personal opinion, I don't think it's the end of the world. So I just hope that things are not going to be as bad as the doom and gloom suggests on my social media right now. I knew it was going to be very, very close. Obviously, people on both sides were rooting for their team, if you will. But yeah, I got up this morning on a Wednesday and it was business as usual. You know, I had breakfast, I worked, I went to the gym, I'm doing some laundry right now. So there you go. And that's all I've got to say about that. I have a lot of like actual political like opinions, which I'll keep to myself, or maybe when I grab a meal with a close friend, but I'm not going to spew that onto my podcast, even though on my podcast I can talk about anything I want. Anyways, just because this is such a major thing that happens every 4 years, that's the only reason I'm talking about it. Anyways, we are going to switch gears. I am going to start recording 2 episodes of the podcast every single week. So this podcast episode you are watching / listening to right now is going to be, you know, the regular weekly public HHBSO episode. But for the Patreon, which I'm kind of sort of ramping up this month of November, there's going to be an extra quote unquote uncut version of the podcast, basically an extra episode for people who subscribe. So there's going to be a second episode just for those Patreon subscribers. So technically the Patreon is live now, but I want to spend a few weeks just kind of populating it with content so that when people do start to subscribe to it, they don't subscribe into like a completely blank Patreon. So I'm kind of preloading content onto it. So starting this week, that's where that extra uncut podcast episode will start to go up starting from this week. I already have the vlog from my New York trip a month ago. It's up there. I recorded so much content, so much vlog content from Taipei. I just uploaded it to my computer, and it's going to be long. I think I'm going to have to split it into like maybe multiple parts, so it's not like a giant video. But that is going to go on to the Patreon as well. I'm thinking maybe I'll do like a very short, abbreviated cut of the vlogs to put onto YouTube, because vlogs are very much like a YouTube thing. So looking into all that. Yeah, and I want to start posting. I'm going to start posting this week, just like little tidbits of like just my musing and things. You know, like the way that people use Twitter, like the way Twitter was like originally meant to be used, is sharing like little snippets of text and things like that. Or like actually, Tumblr is still a thing. Tumblr was really popular until they cut off all the porn, and then people stopped using it, and now they allow the porn again, but it's like all weird. It's like a different ownership now. Anyways, yeah, I want it to be just some exclusive content and things I post on there that you wouldn't get otherwise. I'm very thankful for anyone that chooses to support me in any sort of monetary way with my content creation, regardless of what that content is. And I also just recently set up a buy me a coffee for people who want to leave like a one-time donation. I would be very, very thankful and appreciative. Also on the Patreon, there's going to be different tiers, and there's going to be a tier where I've actually heard people tell me they just want to donate. They don't expect anything in return. There's going to be a $1 a month tier where, if you just want to send me like, what is it? What's 1/30th of a cent a day? What is that? $1 divided by 30. I don't know how many cents that is. I don't know if it was that 6 cents, whatever the math is. For like 6 cents a day, you can sponsor Joey creating content for people that do want to do that. So yeah, once I get some content on there, then I will share out the link to everyone. Not that you guys probably couldn't guess the Patreon link already, honestly. Yeah, but once I preload some content on there, I will share it out, and I'll go into more details about all the perks and everything. But yeah, I'm excited to get that going. Another thing I'm trying to make happen is the Thanksgiving Atlantis cruise. I might be on it. My family are all up in Canada. Canadian Thanksgiving is in October, and it's nowhere near as a massive deal as U.S. Thanksgiving is when U.S. Thanksgiving happens at the end of November. So years past, I've sometimes done a Friendsgiving thing, either like a Friendsgiving trip to like PV or something. I used to do that several years ago. Or it could be like just having like a Friendsgiving dinner with friends that are in town or just locally here at home. But this year, I thought maybe it would be fun to try out the Thanksgiving cruise that Atlantis is doing. I don't think they've done one before. Cute little cruise for 5 nights. It's on the Virgin ships, and I've been really wanting to go on a Virgin ship. It's been on my list for, I don't know, since like 2020, since like years ago. And I still haven't been on one, so I would love to go on a Virgin ship with Atlantis. And I kind of sort of wanted not like a crazy party cruise. I booked on the February Atlantis, that big giant one on the Allure of the Seas. I think it's Allure of the Seas with Royal Caribbean. It's the Oasis class ship, over 5,500 passengers. Sold out that one. That one's always very popular. That's That's the party cruise, and that one will get rowdy. And when that one comes, I will want a party. I already booked on that one. Yeah, but I'm thinking, I have this idea for many years now because I film a lot of the of my cruise videos. Either I'm doing some sort of like a after movie vlog style thing when I'm on board the cruise, but a lot of the ones where I'm giving cruise advice, where I'm just sitting in front of a camera talking about various cruise topics, I always thought it'd be really cool to do that and record those like on the ship, like be in like I don't know. It just seems kind of nice and fitting to be on the cruise ship to film some of those kind of advice videos. And there are definitely some popular YouTube cruise advice videos that I've filmed years ago. From like some of them are from before the pandemic, 2018, 2019, where those are actually quite popular because of the topics I talked about, where I think they're due for a refresh, honestly. So I have this idea to bring my camera equipment and basically record some of those like sit down tripod and camera type videos, but like on the cruise ship. I just thought it'd be cool to like just do those cruise videos on a cruise and have, you know, the cruise setting for that. But then I also want to do like a tour of the Virgin ships, because Atlantis is sailing so many of their cruises on the Virgin ships with Virgin Cruise Lines now. So they've done what, at least 3, if not 4, this year, multiple, and I think they're planning for more next year. It seems like. So yeah, they want to get on one. I would love to do. They are going to continue to do quite a few of their cruises on the Virgin cruise ships. I would love to do like a ship tour video and just give people more information about that class of ship. Obviously, they've sailed the Oasis class ships from Royal Caribbean many times for several years now. And those ships have been out for a while. They're kind of like a known quantity. There's quite a bit of information on those particular ships. And that one tends to be mainly just for, that big January, February cruise from Florida down to the Caribbean, that big party cruise. But they've once or twice, I think they've sailed it in the Mediterranean, but it just depends on what kind of ships they get and where the various cruise lines have positioned various ships, geographically throughout the year. They do move them around every so often to different regions. Yeah. So I'll see. If you happen to be going on the Thanksgiving Atlantis cruise later this month, I think it's like in 3 weeks or something like that. What's the date? Yeah, it's in something like 3 weeks. Let me know. Drop a comment in the YouTube section of this video. But I don't think that's going to be a crazy party cruise. It's not going to be like completely jam-packed. I don't think it's sold out yet, as far as I can tell. And I'll be trying to see if I can get on that. I would love to have kind of sort of, I would kind of sort of treat it as vacation. I mean, I think the main thing will be, I do want to make a bunch of cruise videos for YouTube on the cruise if I went. I think that's kind of sort of the main mission. But it would kind of be nice to also, a lot of my cruise videos portray Atlantis cruises as giant party cruises, especially those after movie videos that are those are like the most popular videos on my channel. And historically, when I went on a cruise, I do tend to go on the Atlantis cruises that are a little bit more like skews towards, people and passengers that do want to party, the partying crowd, kind of the party cruises. But, and I've talked about this on the podcast before, that there are some cruises that are not so rowdy. And not everybody wants to be on like a rowdy party cruise all the time. Maybe rowdy is like not the most generous, charitable term to use, but that's the term that popped up in my head. I have taken a relaxing, quote unquote, Atlantis cruise. It was the beginning of 2023, and it was on a really nice ship, like a nice new ship, smaller one. It wasn't sold out, so it wasn't like jam packed, which was nice. It was like mostly sold out. Oh, no, it was like mostly to capacity, but it just wasn't like sold out. It wasn't like packed. But it's actually really nice to be on a cruise where like the crowd is not just like all party boys, and it's a little bit of like a more relaxing cruise. Sometimes you want to go on like a fun vacation. Sometimes you want to go on like a relaxing vacation. So yeah, I haven't been on a cruise in a little while. And I am booked on the big party cruise in February. So I was like, you know what? This sounds like something I would really be into, especially with the amount of work I've been doing. I mean, I did just go to Taipei, but I felt like that was a work trip. It might sound like, oh, Joey went to Taipei for like Pride, blah blah. I went to a couple of the parties, yes, but honestly, it was really just a work trip. I didn't like go out and sightsee or do anything. It was just like collab, 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 which all went very well. And when I went to New York, that was just a collab trip. I didn't go anywhere. Like I hung out with my friend Tim, and then we like grabbed a coffee and grabbed dinner. That was all the like quote fun activity that I did, and all the other days was like just doing collabs, just creating content. I guess this Thanksgiving cruise, if I go on it, it would be like a content creation trip as well. But I just have so much fun on the cruises, and I've only had like a relaxing cruise once before, which is that kind of quieter one at the beginning of 2023. I don't know, just the idea of going on like a relaxing cruise where I could like enjoy like the quieter, more relaxing aspects of a cruise. I'm really looking forward to potentially doing that. So there you go. Again, if you happen to be on that Thanksgiving Atlantis cruise, comment down below. I would love to know if any of y'all are going to be on it. And as I promised, I will have a video on the European cruises. Two European cruises that Atlantis recently announced just to their alumni. They haven't made the kind of general public announcement yet, and that will be on its way pretty soon. But yeah, so yeah, America has had a crazy day yesterday, and America is still reeling from it today, the day after election day. But for me, I'm just trying to keep it normal, trying to keep it sane, and yeah, just doing my thing. And until next time, bye, y'all.